Hello, good morning. Welcome to New Forest Morphs. It's Wednesday morning. It's 11:15. So we're going to shoot a video before we get back into the business side of the practice. But Jad and I have been through everything. We had a massive feeding session last night. Jad, how did it go?
Yeah, really good.
Quite a few of our sis feeds took some food, which is good. A couple of them are still being stubborn though, and they're throwing out some of their prey items. So this morning we probably fed about 300 snakes yesterday, and of those 300 there was about 5 that left their rats, which is not bad. It's not bad at all, Jad. But we had some pleasant surprises because we were running out of rat fluffs, and I had some small Maltese available, and I thought, I wonder whether we should try some of our our hatchlings that have been eating 2 fluff meals, and see whether they can handle a 40-gram multi. And lo and behold, I was amazed at how they were able to handle that, Jared. And I mean, we will show you how they're doing, but I thought I'd bring out one of my favourite girls. I think it's a girl. We have to resex this, Jared. But this is the Cyprus het clown girl or boy that we picked up from Ben at British Bulls, and that was about a year ago now, wasn't it, Jared? It was about a year. So you can see that she's beautiful, isn't she beautiful? Now we think in here there's phantom, possibly yellow belly going on here. We're not going to sex her to check her sex, but what we'll do is we'll just weigh her. Use the scales, Jared. Let's just see how she's doing. I'm hoping that she's getting close to 700-800 grams. Yep. Let's have a look and see what she's coming in at.
771.
771. So she's ready to move up, and we will be moving her up shortly. We'll let her just rest and digest her food. She's got a decent sized prey item in there. But I wanted to talk about what we could do with a Cyprus gene genetic, because RGI put out a lovely video yesterday, and they had lots of beautiful examples of where Cyprus can go. Now some of them can go to, in the clown project, obviously we wanted to go into clown. If this turns out to be a boy, then I think that we may plug him into 1 or 2 of our projects. Now I looked at the Cyprus lavenders, they look beautiful, Jad. Cyprus going into the bamboo is beautiful, because you can see with the Cyprus you've got a nice tanned head stamp there, and that goes beautifully with the bamboo, which has kind of a shiny head stamp as well, and the bamboo cypresses are very, very nice, Jared. The other one idea that they were saying was Cyprus goes well with puzzle, and a Cyprus puzzle has been made now, and that was beautiful too. So we do have the black pastel, fire, orange dream het puzzle boy that is actually in quarantine at the moment, and if this is a girl, we could possibly plug him in and then do some shed testing to see whether we could produce a double het clown puzzle with all those genetics going in, and that could be special, Jared. So yeah, we'll have to think carefully about it. Where would you like to put the Cyprus gene, Jared, if there's any choice that you had?
Honestly, I don't have a clue.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't done much Cyprus research. It's not really something I've looked at.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think Cyprus going into the clown is a good move, but I think it can go into ultramel very nicely as well. So I think there's some good options for us going forward, but we will get, if it's a boy and we're at 777, this could be breedable this season. If it's a girl, we need to check that point, Jared, give her a couple of days to digest, and then we'll check the sex. If she's a girl, she'll need another season before she gets going. So I'll slip her back, and then we'll talk about probably about another 6 animals that we need to shed test, which we forgot yesterday, and we'll go over those. And maybe, Jad, you can start with the Ultramel Pied project, the 3 girls that we've got. Yeah.
So we've got 3 pieds that are 66% het for Ultramel. Here's one of them. Big pied girl. There's another one in here.
That's the one that's got a smiley face and C shape on her. She's pounding food. I mean, these girls are pounding much yesterday, and Mel's pounding as well. So you can see they're all getting up to size, Jared. So I think we've got a good chance of actually breeding with them this season, because they are, I don't know whether anyone else has noticed, but since the weather has dropped temperatures, the girls are pounding food and they're taking them very quickly and aggressively. So this is the way the snake is communicating with us and saying, we want to prepare for breeding. And the good news, Jared, is that your girl Calypso, who hasn't eaten for about 2 months, well, more than that actually, she shed out this week, and I normally give her a multi because she can be quite fussy with her choice of food. She came out of there and nailed a 200-gram white giant rat. And let's have a look at her, because she's a very important project. Now, we normally put this little red tag on anything that's struggling to feed. That can come off now because this girl, one of your favourite animals, Jared, let's have a look at her. She shed out, and I was worried that she wasn't eating. And Jared, you've got a theory about the shed and feeding. Let's just look at the size of the meal that she's got in her. And I think if she carries on pounding to that level, we could get her reconditioned, because we've got a boy who is the banana leopard double het, well not double het, double visual clown pie boy. That's his wife to be, so we want to get her reconditioned and ready to go. So that was really good news to see that going on. Now what I'm going to do is bring out some of our baby hatchlings that are pounding these multis. Now what multis did we give them last night, Jared?
I think they're large.
Yeah,
40 grams.
40 grams. You've ordered some more food. We were thinking about going down to 20 or 30 grams, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I thought I'd just try and experiment to see whether they can handle a 40 grammer, and boy did they handle them. Let me just bring a few out and you'll see just how well they are doing. So we'll start with your boy Nicky and Olympia. Let's have a little look and see how they're looking. So you can see they're taking their prey item in, and when you go from fluffs to multis, you can see just how much they start to fill up and start to get bigger. Now, from previous experience, we've realised that these snakes, once they get past the 200 gram stage, they accelerate to 400 very quickly, and then from 400 to 800 quite quickly, 800 to 1500 very quickly. And if they have a good feeding instinct, you find that within a couple of years the boys are definitely ready to go, and the girls within 2 to 2.5 years are good to go too. In fact, some of the boys are ready to go within a year. So we're pleased with the way in which these hatchlings, and these are this year's hatchlings, and if we were to weigh this boy here, no, they're both girls actually, let's just have a quick weigh. Zero the scales out, Jared, let's just see what they look like. And we'll see how they're doing. So what weight have you got on
244.
244. Okay.
So she was probably 204 yesterday.
Yeah. So now she's gone up by 40 grams. Now that's bigger than usual. We normally represent 15% growth in the weight. So normally you would say probably a 30 gram would have been probably more suitable for her. But I think they were capable of taking a bigger meal, as you can see. I'm not saying that you should do that every week, but you know that we wanted to feed them, and that was the prey item we had. We've got some smaller multis coming today, so we will switch them back down to probably a 30 gram multi. But the benefit of the multi is they're small. When you actually soak them in water, you find that the fluffy side of the multi becomes much thinner, and the snake can manipulate the prey item to fit their body size. So as you can see, it's amazing how they can accommodate a bigger prey item. So we're probably right on the pushing on the edge of the border here. I wouldn't want to go any further than that, but we're going to drop it down for next week, Jared. But we'll see how they digest these, and it might be that we give them a 2-week period to just digest it, Jared, because it's got quite a large prey item in there. But it just goes to show that once you get your hatchlings up to a certain size, they really do want to start pounding food. Okay, so let's just talk about the other projects that we need to do shed tests. Now, we forgot yesterday to mention that we've got the Hypo Pied project. Now, Ash, who is a pied 66% het for Hypo, and she is a firefly, I believe. Isn't she lovely, Jared? we're going to do a shed test to see whether she's carrying the het hypo, and if she is, we will be breeding with her. Now her other animals we've got in her project are Archie, who we bred with last year. He's a proven boy. He's produced a lot of the hypo babies, but we didn't get any pieds, and we're hoping for at least 1 or 2 pieds. So he's a candidate for shed testing. He's a fire hypo, but he is 66% het for pied, and he's got some tracks underneath his body which is indicative of pied. So we thought confidently we'll put him back to his mother and hopefully produce some visual hypopieds. Of course we didn't get any. We thought, I wonder whether he's carrying pied. So he's a candidate for testing the pied, and it's well worth doing that because you don't want to be like barking up the wrong tree, as I said yesterday. You want to be using the right boy. If necessary, we'll use the original father, who is a double het pastel hypopied firefly boy, Samo. Not ideal because obviously even though he's a double het, the chances will be less, but at least he is carrying both genetics. So hopefully we'll find Archie will have the pied and he'll be our stud going forward, and if not, we may have to revert back to the father and plug the father into 1 or 2 of these genetics, because at least we've got them being visual pieds or hypos. There's 2 others in that particular project that we can shed test. Jared, you've mentioned Soot. Now, she fed yesterday, so you can see when they feed they're on their hot spot digesting their food. We'll have a little look and see how she's doing. Very similar to Ash, but this one's bigger, and you can see she took a 150 gram rat yesterday, and she's not far off 1500 grams, Jared. So she will be worth shed testing before we decide to pair. And then we've got lucky enough in the same clutch to hit a visual hypo that we're hoping is 100% het for pied, and that's Ebony. And Ebony is feeding like an absolute steam train. She is pounding food, and she's my favourite looking. She's in shed actually. So we'll keep her shed, Jared. What we probably want to do is, before she sheds out, is clean her bedding and make sure that the shed doesn't fall on any soiled paper. In other words, that could damage the shed. So she's going to shed in the next couple of days. So after the video is finished, we'll probably clean her rub, make sure it's immaculately clean, so that when she does shed, the shed ends up being nice and clean for us, and that will help the people that are doing the test. But as you can see, she's up to 1500 grams, so she would be a candidate for the project. So those 3 girls and boy, which is 4 sheds, could cost us €200, which is say £170, but it will mean that we could be a lot more accurate with our breeding pairs this year to select the right partners to them. And then if we've got the 3 other girls, so there's going to be effectively there's 7 here, so there's quite a few sheds that we need to do, and we won't be able to do them all in one hit because they'll shed at different times, but we'll just save the sheds and then we'll send them off and have them tested, and then within a week or so we should know what's going on. I'm in no rush to pair, Jared, because let's get the genetics proven first before we pair, because that will affect what we do. So this is why it's so important to do these shed tests. Now, were there any other snakes that we've missed from yesterday on the shed test, Jared? No?
That's it.
So, talking about your babies, how was the feeding of the babies yesterday? We focused on all there's less red tags, which is good. Which ones did well yesterday, Jared, that you were worried about that you didn't have to assist feed, but they took the food? Was there any that were progressing, or were there quite a few that you're still assist feeding?
Still a lot that's getting assist fed, to be honest. I think we got 1 or 2. I think Bilbo was one that actually took for the first time on their own.
Okay, that's lovely. And he looks good. He is a Orange Dream Yellow Belly double het. I think he's het for
Lavender
pied. The het dreams are cool, so he did well. As you can see, we've still got a few reds. Now, what is the solution, Jared? Because Jared is getting a little bit tired of assist feeding, and we've got a particular clutch that keeps on throwing out the food and doesn't want to take it down. And we've not really experienced that before, have we, Jared? It's not been a common occurrence. Most assist feeds end up smashing food the next week. So we've got a Purple Passion het Ultramel clutch, that is proving to be a little bit difficult and you pull your hair out. So I was very lucky enough to have some time with Gav at Balls to You. I told him about the problem. I said, Gav, what would you recommend? And we spoke about the bedding. Now he uses Viper bedding, Jared, and Viper bedding is a premier product, and we've decided to order, well, you did, Jared, what did you order this week?
We've got 3 blocks of the Hatchling Viper bedding. It's cocoa husk.
It's cocoa husk, so it's 3 blocks, and that will cover the hatchling. So what we've decided to do, Gavin convinced me to have a go, even though he wasn't pushing me at all to buy the product. I thought, do you know what, I've kept it pretty clinical here in terms of keeping paper and using Blitz, because you can see everything, you can clean. It does mean we have to clean more often, because we are seeing how often we need to clean, because the paper is making it very clear just how much they wee and poo. And I think sometimes with cocoa husk, the reason why I've steered clear of it is twofold. Number one, I was worried it might introduce mites into my collection, which I have heard stories of that happening. And number two, cocoa husk is brown in colour, and I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to see any mess because it would just be absorbed in the cocoa. Now, apparently with this particular Viper bedding, it's very good at absorbing, it's been well treated, and Gavin's told me that there's no issue with mites, because they make sure that mites need a 6 to 7 week breeding cycle anyway, and if they're sat on a ship coming over here or whatever, or sat in a particular storage facility for say 8 weeks before they're shipped out, mites won't even get a chance to survive, because they need that cycle. But also they are cleaned and treated, and I've been told that they've been pretty much the point where there's very, very low risk of that issue happening. So that was comforting to hear that. So I thought, you know what, we're having problems feeding these hatchlings. At least I would say 10% of our production is problematic right now. So the first step I thought I'd take is, let's try a change in bedding to see if they feel more comfortable on that, and that will help us. But the other thing we can do is we can test the product, give you our review, an honest opinion, and we're spending so much on Blitz. I mean, our paper bill is so high that actually I think Viper bedding might prove to be a cheaper option for us, but also because it absorbs the smell. And we walked in today, there was 5 dead rats. Didn't smell at all, did it, Jared? We came in, it was pretty clean. But I think the beautiful thing about the cocoa husk is it absorbs smells, therefore you don't smell the facility out as bad as you would with paper. The other problem is, with my hip operation coming, Gav very kindly said, look, the nice thing about having cocoa husk is, instead of spending 2 or 3 hours a day cleaning, you would actually have more spot cleaning, because it absorbs the wee, and and the poo is held in position in the corners normally. And he was saying that in his experience, he's finding the cocoa husk saves him a lot of time. And he said, when I come out of my operation, that's a really important factor, because I won't be able to do the cleaning that, you know, it takes 6 weeks to 8 weeks to recover from hip surgery. And poor Jared, who's running the accountancy practice and the snake business while I'm recovering, is going to be pulling his hair out if he's not careful. So maybe this transition before my op is a good move. So I've got personal reasons to try as well. I think what we'll do is that we'll try with the hatchlings first, and then we will see how that goes. And then there are other methodologies that we can adopt to get these hatchlings going, because we don't want them to, I mean, they're still reasonably enough, chunky enough that they can still feed, but the problem we have is that if you're cyst feeding them and they're not keeping it down, they're creating a negative feeding habit, Jared, which can be perpetuated into adulthood. So I think sometimes it might pay to just change the bedding, try a different approach. And we also, Jared, you mentioned the other approach is you've bought some smaller Maltese for these hatchlings.
Yeah.
So of course we've been feeding them rat pups. Now a lot of people use mice, and they find they have more success with mice. And the other thing that Gavin said is that sometimes we make the mistake of washing out the flavour of the rat by soaking them in water. And he was saying that sometimes it's good to let them smell the natural smell of the rat. Gets their instincts going. So I think these are all little things that we can try and adjust. We'll let you know how it goes next week when we try the baby Maltese, and they're going to be very small Maltese. Joe, what size Maltese did you order for that?
I think they're like 10 gram, 5 to 10 gram Maltese.
5 to 10 gram Maltese, so small prey items. We're going to try a different smell, different flavour, see whether they prefer the Maltese, and then if they do, we'll let you know, and we'll just I think when you get problems like this on a larger scale, because we've had this on a smaller scale, but on a larger scale with a bigger collection, it does become more problematic because you're spending a lot of time and you're concerned and worried about certain of the snakes. Now, fortunately, 90% of our babies are doing fine, so we're happy about that. But there's always that 10% that most people worry about. So I think, hopefully, with the change in bedding, hopefully with the change to Maltese, we will see some of these more difficult feeders actually going onto food, and that's what we're planning to do. Right, the other thing I wanted to do is we've got a wonderful new snake coming for one of our projects, and the project is the Desert Ghost Clown project, Jared, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I bring out our boy and see how he's doing, he nailed a decent sized prey item. Let's get him out and show you what we've got. His name is Boza. Have a little look at him. He's a pastel DG het clown boy. If you can weigh him as well, Jared. You need to get a new set of scales, Jared. I think
I'll order some today.
Can you order those? Honestly, it's a pain in the bum with it. Dodgy set of scales. It's not what you need.
421.
421. So he's doing really well. And we've had him a year. We got him from JV Racks and Reptiles. That was Jay produced this. He's got high-end Desert Ghosts. He's got a high-end quality in his collection. So when I bought him, I looked at the quality and thought, this is a high-end DG. I haven't had it tested, but in theory, Jared, we can test our DGs as well. That's a good point, because you've got different, there's A, Bs and Cs and Ds, whatever they are. They're all different levels of DG out there, different levels of intensity, different levels of, they're all compatible, but they give different levels of intensity. So it's a bit like the Orange Dream. You get a very intense Orange Dream, and you get the standard Orange Dream, and you can get different intensities. It's true of most genetics, to be honest with you, and that's why when you're choosing your snakes, it isn't a question of just choosing the morph
Or the cheapest.
or the cheapest. Sometimes paying a little bit extra, quality really does shine through. And as you can see with this boy, he is quality all round. However, when we got him, Jared, he went off food for about 2 or 3 months, didn't he? And he actually declined in size. So Jay got him up to 200, and then he dropped down to about 150 with us, didn't he? Jared and I were scratching our heads and thinking, why has he gone off food? And I can't remember what you did, Jared. Did you assist
fed him, yeah.
You assist fed him. As soon as he tasted the food, he was back on again.
Yeah, next week he nailed it.
So it's really interesting how that can really help the situation. So in my video three or 4 weeks ago, I put out the fact that we've got this boy that's going to be ready this season. But it just dawned on me that I hadn't done my homework, because I hadn't produced any females or bought any females that were ready to go to this boy. And I thought to myself, we could really do with a double het DG clown girl that's ready to go. So one of our viewers, now I've got some, what I'll do is I'll just put this guy back, Jared. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll put him on the table so you can enjoy him a little bit while I actually get my phone out. I've got a beautiful, we've managed today to source a partner for him that is a proven breeder. And I have got a picture of a girl which came from Szyman at, now I'm just looking at the name of his business, the Serpent Collective, based in Northampton in England. And that's the girl. This is going to be his first wife, if you like. And she's on eggs. Believe it or not, she is on those eggs. I think she's only a couple of years old. He managed to get her sexually ready within a couple of years, which I think is amazing. And it just goes to show, although in theory we say 3 years is the norm, there is always exceptions to the norm. Now, apparently she's gone back on food very quickly, Jared, and she's already up to 1700. So I think a few months of reconditioning, if she's up for it, she gave 8 eggs, no slugs, Jared. These are all music to my ears to hear this, because we've effectively got a female that's ready to go. And that's the key to being able to produce a Desert Ghost clown, is to get your female ready at the same time as your boy. Now, even though this guy could do with an extra 200 or 300 grams, would you say, Jack, before we start pairing, we will check his sperm to make sure he is producing sperm. and then we'll prepare and recondition the female. And even if it goes, say, January, February next year, it might be that both of them are ready. We've now got a lovely project to get into, which could give us a very good chance of hitting pastel, because she's a pastel, he's a pastel, so we could get killer, so that's a super pastel, DG clowns, which will be fantastic. And if we've got a boy, we then compare. Now this is where we then think, well, where's that boy going to go? So if we hit a killer DG clown, which are worth about £3 Jared, and they are beautiful, what would we do with that boy? Well, guess what's going on in the background? We've got all our DG clown double hets at the back. Now I'll put out a couple of those. I know we've only got a couple of minutes, Jared, but these will be ready in about 2 to 3 years' time. So when we're getting our timing on projects, not only have you got to get your current season underway, you've got to think about what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years' time. So we already brought out Olympia, so she's a double het DG clown, possibly cryptic. So I won't pull her out, but all I'd say is I would like to thank Szyman for watching our channel and actually
reaching out to us,
because we're on a similar wavelength and we might be able to do some future collaborations together and might be able to work in partnership with him on the DG Clown project. And that's the other key, Jared, is it's learning to work with other breeders, and when we do that we can be more effective, because not everyone can cover every genetic, but if you work in tandem with another breeder you trust, you can share each other's genetics and do trades. Just to finish on this video, I'd like to give Mark and Callum a shout out. Now, the lovely family from Wales that came last weekend, now there's a lovely picture of Callum, which I'll show that of the facility. He's holding Ezekiel and he is wearing our swag, looking cool. He is very happy with his pickups, Jared, and Mark and Callum have been communicating with me to let me know how they're settling in. I gave them some Maltese and some other rats for them to take with them so that their transition was easy. Guess what happened within a week of them being in their facility? They fed every single snake, and you can see there's Ezekiel straight on the food, took his multi, easy for him. So that tells me they've got the temps and humidity right. Here is the beautiful clown that we gave them, and this one, Chad, is taking a rat fluff, and that is, do you know who that is? That is Scribble, and that could be a beautiful animal going forward. If it proves to be gravel, it's a bonus. This one is the leopard boy that we Dad picked up, pastel leopard het clown, 50% het pied, eating. And there you have mum snake, which is the banana cine pastel het G-stripe, eating, really good. And then you have Nene's one as well, which is wonderful, and that is the Mojave Ultramel. So all the animals they've picked up, which I think was 8. Oh, and don't forget also we've got the pastel het gravel, pastel gravel het clown boy has also eaten, Jad. So oh, and there's one more here. Sorry, I forgot. They've got the cinnamon het clown girl as well, and all of them are eating. And when you get that kind of feedback, isn't it lovely when people pick up snakes and know that I'm concerned about the transition? They send you these pictures and it's all big thumbs up to that family. Well done, and they're coming back in October. Thank you for watching. We shall see you next time. Bye for now.